then took a faculty position with Midwestern. So you can say, I guess, I never left pharmacy school. Most recently in 2021, I became a career and leadership coach for pharmacists, and that's what we're going to focus on today. We're going to talk about the differences between mentoring and coaching, because I think a lot of people are used to the word mentoring, and you see that offered in a lot of internal and external programs, but coaching may be a new concept, especially in healthcare, especially in pharmacy. We're going to talk about why it's needed, and then review some of the evidence. We're all healthcare providers here and we value data, so we're going to talk about what's been shown so far. So I just want to get a sense of who's in the room. I think I could probably guess who's here, but whoever you identify with, whatever discipline, if you want to type the letter in the chat, and then I'm going to open up the chat so I can see what's going on. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Laura. Okay, I think we were going to have mostly pharmacists here, so this makes a lot of sense. All right, we've got a couple more questions coming your way. What interested you about this webinar? And again, you can just type in the letter, whichever one resonates with you. A, I'm really burnt out and I'm wondering if a coach can help me. B, I'm doing okay. However, I'm curious about career coaching. C, I want to learn how coaching is different than mentoring. Or D, I just come to all of the MCP webinars. Or maybe E, something else. What brought you here today? Okay. Thanks, Laura. Okay, thanks, Tom. Okay, so before we get started, here's a little bit more about me. And this is kind of my career in pictures, which was actually a lot of fun to put together. There's me at the top, if you can see, in 2002 on the day of my graduation. As Ann said, I'm an AmCare pharmacist, so I have patient care experience with talking with patients one-on-one. I've done some grant-funded research in the lab. That's me at my laptop, working all hours of the night, creating slides for teaching and working on writing my papers. And then there's me at the bottom with one of my vision boards, trying to manifest new opportunities. A few years ago, I started feeling really stuck in my career. I was actually really happy with some parts, but not others. I felt unsettled. And that's when I found a coach. And I tell you, it was so transformative that I knew I had to obtain this training myself. So I still teach at Midwestern. But in 2019, I launched 21st Century PharmD, which you can see in the middle at the bottom. And that was really a blog and a podcast for pharmacy students. But there's a ton of content there for pharmacists as well. And what started as a weekly blog has now really morphed into this online community for all pharmacy professionals. So I created Bold Idea Group to focus more on coaching pharmacists who are not quite pharmacy students, but a little more ahead in their careers. So I'm wondering if any of these resonate with you, and you certainly don't have to type this in the chat if you don't want to, but if they do, I would be certainly curious. You feel really stuck in your career or your job. You don't have a mentor or someone you can talk to. You feel like your mindset or your self-doubt gets in your way. You're interested in doing many things and you're not sure what to focus on. You love your job, but you know you're pushing yourself and you're worried this isn't sustainable. And a lot of these points were things that I was going through myself. And these are a lot of reasons why people seek out coaching. They just get to a point where they know they need some help with their mindset. They know they need someone to talk to. They just have this feeling of being stuck. They don't know what skills are transferable. They don't know what to do next. So these are some of the things that I felt in my own career. And maybe you can relate, feeling a little stuck, feeling overwhelmed, feel like I'm never doing enough. Unsure of when to say yes or when to say no. We talked about before this call started, like saying, hell yeses versus the resentful yeses. Just needing clarity on my career goals. What's next? Feeling like I don't have time for my own development. Feel like most of my job is out of my control, which is not a great feeling. And just being really unaware of what value you bring. Before I got coaching in my life, before I started working with a coach, I couldn't really even name my top 5 strengths and what skills I bring to the table. So how does this show up at work if you are feeling this way? It shows up with just having less enjoyment at work. You find yourself complaining more about it to your friends or your partner at home. You feel like you're comparing yourself to others. You feel like other people get more opportunities. You find yourself saying things like, well, someone's got to do the work around here, or it must be nice to have that much time. You might even be looking for other jobs or even questioning your path, which is really, really common in pharmacy because we work so hard to get through pharmacy school and whatever postgraduate training we do, and then you get to where you think you want it to be, and then all of a sudden you feel really stuck. That's a hard place to be. So let's first talk about mentors, because that's probably the career relationship where most familiar with. And when I think about mentors, I think about long-term advice. This is someone that's probably going to be in my life for probably a long period of time. And this is someone you can really share the good, the bad, and the ugly with. So I could go into my mentor's office and share a win and share a triumph, and they'll celebrate with me, and they know that I'm not bragging. They know I'm not being egotistical. They're just truly happy for me because they know what I've been working towards. But I could also go into that same mentor's office and like cry my eyes out because of something that happened at work. And they also understand that I'm not just a hot mess, that this really must have impacted me in some way. That's the benefit of having a mentor, and they hold that space for you with whatever's going on. They give you that career advice as you move forward. Your mentor is usually more senior, usually has more experience. And the data has shown that mentoring does increase employee engagement, increase productivity, improves retention rates, builds succession plans. So this is why companies are pushing mentoring programs, because the data very clearly shows that it helps their employees in all the ways that companies want their employees to thrive. And we usually try to seek a mentor who kind of emulates our future self, who's kind of been maybe a few steps ahead on the same path that we want to go to. So now I want to introduce coaching to you guys. And I want to, if you're not familiar with Atul Gawande, you may remember him. He was the author of the bestseller, Being Mortal. So he says coaching done well may be the most effective intervention designed for human performance. And he actually had a really famous TED Talk. And he says, if you want to get great at something, get a coach. And he was a surgeon. I don't know if he's still practicing, but what he talks about in this TED Talk, if you haven't seen it already, I encourage everyone to go check it out, is he talks about bringing a coach into his OR. Either for one surgery or multiple surgeries. And what he thought he was going to get was a pat on the back and a thumbs up and keep up the good work. And instead, what he got was what his eyes and ears couldn't see. He got this outside perspective of how his ego walked into the room, how he spoke to the staff, the choices he made in the OR. And then he realized that coaching could have an impact, not just on the operation of things, but on our mindset. When I first thought about coaches, I thought about sports. And if you think about coaching in sports, why do we even need coaches in adult sports? Everyone knows how to play the game. We could set our own lines. If we need a leader, we could assign a captain. So what's the purpose of the coach? Well, the coach can see things that the players cannot see. They're not in the game. They have this outside perspective to move the team forward. I like to describe coaching as almost like doing one of those 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzles, where you first get the box and you empty out all the pieces on the table, and it looks a little overwhelming at first. And then you start finding those corners and the side pieces, and you build the frame, and then you start sorting by color or by theme, and it starts to form a picture, but you've got this one piece that you've got to twist a few times. You're not really sure where it fits yet, so you put it off to the side. That's exactly how I think about working with clients when we get all of their thoughts out of their head and we just do this thought download, just like we get all those jigsaw pieces out on the table. And then we start to prioritize. What's the most important thing you want to work on? What's a goal you want to accomplish? We can't work on everything all at once. It's going to be really overwhelming, but let's start with a section and we'll go from there. And sometimes we have to turn one of our thoughts around. Sometimes we have to reframe something, just like we did with a puzzle piece, to make it fit to the person who we want to be. So our coaches are really our thought partners. And this is someone who's with you in a specific time of your life. Maybe when you're feeling stuck, you need clarity on your next steps. You want a better understanding of why things bother you or excite you. I remember there was this one supervisor at work, and I just didn't understand why we clashed. I mean, I thought I was a very likable person. I didn't understand why we just never got along, and they would say the most horrible things to me, and it really bothered me. So through coaching, I just realized what I value and what this person valued might be two very different things, and it was probably less personal than I was taking it. Or maybe you just realize that everything is good right now, but you want to go from good to great. You realize that there's like more value you could be bringing. You're just not sure how to articulate that yet. So just take a few seconds, and if you've got a pen and paper, just write down if you've ever considered working with a career or life coach, or maybe this is the first time you've really heard about it for our field. So just take a couple seconds and do a little mini self-reflection. So many times, this is a question I got when people are considering hiring a coach is that they're not really sure what's involved. I mean, it's almost like when you go to the doctor's office and you know that someone's going to bring you into the room, they're going to take your vitals, they're going to ask you about your medicines, and then they're going to leave the room and the doctor's going to come in. Like it's very, like, we know what's going to happen when we go see the doctor. But patients don't know what happens when they go see a clinical pharmacist because it hasn't been well defined yet. It's almost the same thing with mentoring and coaching. When you get a mentor, you almost know what to expect. You're going to go, you're going to talk about your problem, and then the mentor is going to give you this great advice, and you're going to soak it up, and you're going to try to do some of those things on your own. With a coach, it's a little bit different. It's very client-centered. So it's very coachy driven. The coach helps provide clarity through inquiry, through a ton of questions, and gives you a chance to do a ton of self-reflection. The coach is not giving you advice. The coach is not telling you what to do. They're helping you figure out what those steps are because they know that the client has all of the answers already. They just need help uncovering it. There are several different types of coaches out there, which also makes it a little confusing on what to expect. People call themselves executive coaches, career coaches, general life coaches. Some people have a health and wellness focus, but they're all really working on the same thing, and that's mindset. We're really working on reframing the way that we think about things to get to where we want to go or to become the person we want to be. And I just offer this, like, what if managing your mind could really change your life? And I think that's really, it's not woo-woo, it's really a profound statement that some of the thoughts that we have on auto repeat in our brain aren't really serving us. And if we're open to the idea of reframing or changing some of those thoughts, then we have the ability to go to the next level, however we define that to be. So how do we obtain a coach? Well, definitely ask around. You'd be surprised. More people have coaches than you realize. Even if you asked around at work, you would probably find at least one person who has a coach. You could talk to colleagues who are in other industries because corporate America, sometimes they use coaches more than the healthcare industry. Whatever social media groups you are in, you could do some searches there and see if anyone's asked about a coach or talked about a coach, or you can pose the question if anyone's used a coach. A group or individual coaching is available, so whatever you think would work best for you. And here's some language that you could use when you're looking for a coach. I'm looking for some career support to help me figure out next steps. I'm looking for that outside perspective. Have you ever worked with a coach, or do you know of one? So just again, another moment, 5 or 10 seconds of self-reflection. Is there one area of your life where you want to go from good to great? So in general, when we think about the differences between coaches and mentors, if you direct your attention to the middle of this slide, they both encourage self-improvement. They both provide a safe setting for honest sharing. That's going to happen regardless of who you work with. If you look on the right, mentors are going to provide that advice based on their own personal experience. And you're probably going to seek a mentor who has that specific experience you're looking for. You're not going to look for someone who's an expert in interior design if you're looking for advice on your pharmacy career. They really help based on goodwill. Mentors have this spirit of generosity, which is really great. And that's probably how you connected with them. That's probably how you got on the same vibe anyway. And it's usually more of an informal process, although formal mentoring programs do exist. And mentors really take here's what I did approach. This is what worked for me. This is how I got success. If you would like to try some of these things. Coaches on the left co-create your action steps for you. They help draw out the answers from within. They're professionally trained to take on really any aspect of life. However, you could find a coach that is specific in one area. It could be a formal engagement. It usually is. And they have strategic methods to help you handle some situations. And again, it's a lot on mindset and kind of reframing what we're thinking. So let's talk about an example. This is something common that we're seeing in practice today. And then I'll show you how a mentor might approach the situation and how the coach might support the situation. So MA is a community pharmacist, works 5 days a week at a busy pharmacy. She's frustrated she doesn't have as much work-life balance as her colleagues who aren't in community practice. When she hears her colleagues brag about their latest triathlon or book club or vacation, she finds herself growing resentful. She wants to figure out how to make time for herself, but more importantly, change her mindset about the success of her colleagues so she doesn't feel this way every time. So just want to acknowledge MA for a minute for realizing that not only does she want to make time for herself, which is so important, but she's recognizing that she doesn't like the way she's thinking about some of her colleagues. Like she doesn't want to be this resentful colleague. So just want to acknowledge MA for even reaching out. So as her mentor, I may say something like, don't compare yourself to other pharmacists. They don't work in a busy community practice. They're on their own path. They're on their own journey. You're on your journey. So what they're doing, really, you can't really compare yourself to. Here are some ideas to make time for yourself. This is what worked for me. I would set aside this. I would ask for help here. These are some things that you could try if you want more time, and really just focus on your goals. Like, what are you striving for? Do you want more time with your partner? Do you want more time with your kids? Do you want more time with your parents? Like, what time are you looking for? And let's focus on those goals. And that's great mentoring advice. And if I was mentoring her, I would probably say something along those lines. Or if I was her coach, I would go at it in a completely different way. And I'd start off by saying, well, how do you define work-life balance? Because that definition is certainly different for everyone. What is your biggest challenge with finding time? Is it really hours in the day, or is it asking for help when you get home? Is it asking for your boss for not staying overtime? So we got to really get at, what is this challenge that you're trying to overcome? What's your definition of success? What are you trying to achieve? Is it successful when you're able to do a triathlon or attend a book club or go on a vacation? Is that your definition of success? And is that why you're growing resentful? And lastly, how do you want to react to other people's wins? Because you have a choice in how you react, and we could start working on that today. So just think again, another 5 or 10 seconds, or write this question down, and you can ponder it later, how you could use coaching to help you reach your full potential. Okay, so let's talk about why coaching is needed in healthcare. You've probably already thought about this yourself, but healthcare professionals can benefit from coaching in both the short and long term. But if you look at recent history, just going from left to right here, coaches have mostly been utilized in senior administrator roles, executive coaching programs to improve leadership skills, meet career goals, while healthcare providers who are on the ground, occasionally they were assigned coaches for more like remediation plans, not necessarily to help them go from good to great. So we started seeing high rates of burnout, fatigue, managing really highly complex cases, even before the pandemic. Remember, this wellness and well-being conversation that we're having in pharmacy, that started pre-COVID. So we knew we had an issue then. And then 2020 happened, and morale has sunk even lower. And we're seeing this newest trend of quiet quitting. So yes, there is room for coaching in healthcare. The Wellbeing Index is a validated tool that measures well-being in several healthcare disciplines. And if you look at here at their data from 2021, over half of all professionals surveyed have felt burnt out in the last month, with the exception of residents and fellows at 48%, but very close to half. Look at pharmacy on the bottom, 65, 66% feeling burned out in the last month. So yes, there is room for coaching in healthcare. Just briefly, there are 2 studies I wanted to highlight. In the first study, 88 physicians volunteered for coaching, and after 6 sessions, there was a statistical difference in emotional exhaustion and overall burnout compared to the control group who did not receive coaching. In the second study here, 11 physicians participated in 3 to 8 coaching sessions and reported greater awareness in boundary setting, prioritizing things, self-compassion, self-care, and just overall self-awareness. So some of the clients that I've worked with, I wanted to pull out a couple of things that they've said, because we don't have a lot of evidence published with coaching in pharmacy professionals specifically. But these are some anecdotal things that I've heard them say. They found motivation, passion for their current work situation. They learned new approaches to growth. Their interests were refocused. They gained a greater understanding of how things affect them, taught me things I didn't know about myself, feel more in control of my career trajectory, helped me reset and ask myself what I really want, and gained confidence. And some testimonials. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my mastermind program that's group coaching. But here are some direct testimonials that I thought were really powerful. And these are coming directly from your pharmacy colleagues. I'm no longer on my laptop every night. That's a goal for all of us. I'm used to dreaming for others, but not myself. I realized I'm braver and have accomplished more in my career than I give myself credit for. I still have a lot to give this profession. I still get goosebumps when I read that one. I am capable of doing hard things. I learned how to say no or not yet to projects that would overwhelm me. And lastly, this one I love. I've never been listened to like this. Coaching is just a different conversation. And when I received coaching, I just felt like my strengths and my goals were more aligned. I'm working towards things that really light me up, and I'm just less stressed about everything. The things that really used to trigger me don't really bother me anymore. They still do, but not as much. So here's some data I've been collecting with my clients before and after the mini mastermind program, which is 5 sessions long. So after completing the mastermind, their career excitement and motivation went up and their stress went down. So these are matched surveys pre-post to kind of gauge what's happening before and after the program. So in summary, I just want to be clear that coaching is not therapy. It's not advice, and it's not mentoring. There's a role for mentoring in our careers. We need strong mentors, and we need that. But just want you to consider that coaching is a non-judgmental space to share your thinking so that you can gain clarity in your life for that future that you're trying to build. So if you've ever been curious about coaching, or maybe you're thinking about a colleague who couldn't be here today, I developed this program for pharmacists, which is a mini mastermind group. And really, that's a group of like-minded people coming together for community and accountability. And you can find all of this information on my website. It's usually a group of 4 to 6 people who are looking for clarity and their next steps, for people who want to learn more about themselves so that they're empowered to move forward. Guys, I basically created a program that I needed a few years ago. So again, you could go to my website and see what previous participants have said about their experience, but just as an overview, in 5 sessions, we cover values, goals, purpose, mission, and then what's next for you. Like, what type of career relationships do you need moving forward? Maybe we need to find a mentor in that specific space now that we've identified where you want to go. So I'm going to open it up for questions, but I just wanted to first thank you for your engagement and thank you for coming. Thank you, Anne, for the invitation, and perhaps we can open it up for any Q&A.